Hey guys, so this is my vintage Singer 147-81. It's a 2-thread Chainstitch industrial sewing machine capable of sewing up to 4,000 stitches per inch, which is crazy fast. This one I currently have it geared to 1,250 stitches per inch via this clutch motor that's a 1725 RPM with a 15 millimeter pulley, so it drops the speed down to a more manageable 1,200 stitches per inch. I just have it on a standard K-leg table. It's pretty much new, and then just a standard industrial WMC top without a cutout. So this is just a flat top with a belt cutout. And then the machine bolts into place on these 4 positions. There are a couple different setups for these vintage 147s that people had their machines set up. One was to bolt it to a tabletop like this. The other was actually almost like a box that they built around the machine. And there are photos online if you Google it, 147, Singer 147. And then the other way was to cut a hole in the table and then build a secondary platform that this machine would rest down on. And then so you would have this surface flush with the tabletop. But I didn't really see a huge benefit to doing it that way. And this setup I think is more versatile in that you can take this off and put a different style of machine on if you wanted. And it's easier to transport that way and lighter. So I opted to go this route. There is here, let me pull this apart so you can see. It's a self-oiling machine, and maybe you can see it through here. You see some of these copper tubes that run throughout the machine. So you got one coming out here. You can see a bunch on the bottom. So it's self-oiling. You have to fill it up via a reservoir and then prime it in a couple spots. But it's self-oiling and running at 4,000 stitches per minute. It has to be. It doesn't have you saw it down below there, 2 pedals. That foot pedal is actually the presser foot lift. So you have to have a chain coming off the back and you drill a hole out. The presser foot tension's adjustable. And you can see this plate removes to get to the looper. And you basically run the thread through the back. You drop it down this slot through here. And it's pretty quick. But once you should only do it really once. I mean, once you have it set up, then at that point you would just tie off a new thread and pull it through the machine like you would on overlock, so you don't have to re-thread it every time. But I thought I'd do a sewing demonstration on it. There isn't a whole lot on this machine, so I thought I'd do a sewing demonstration video so you can see what it's capable of. You might see this machine or photos of it with this arm here. So I took it off because I don't work with material large enough to protect this side of the pillar and then the thread coming in the back. So I just removed it. It gives you a little bit more space, and I think it makes it for a better looking setup. But yeah, the finish you could see is a crinkle finish. This is the you'd see them on like some of these old Singer 99s and some of the vintage Singers from World War II where they had finished them like this. This one I know is pre-1950s based on the badge, but I don't know how early in the 20th century it was produced. I haven't really done much investigative work on it. But the machine was timed and uses these MY 1044 needles, so they're longer needles and they have a groove in the front and the back. And they're designed for chain stitch machines like this. So you can find these all over the place pretty cheap. The needle in there now is a size 18 using a Gutermann Terra 40 thread, which is a Tex 70 polyester thread. So I have gray on the top and then red on the bottom. So I've already sewed a little bit so you can see what this looks like. This is the chain stitch. Maybe there's a little bit better lighting. So this is the chain stitch here. You can see the, is it focusing? I'm not sure if the red is too bright to throw the contrast off, but so it creates like this roping effect. If you look on the inside of like your denim jeans. You'll see it down the seams on the pant legs, on the sides, and then also across the top around the waistband, and then also on the bottom on the hem. They're all over. The stitch on these, the 2-thread chain stitch, is actually, it's 10 to 15% stronger than a standard 301 lock stitch. And then it's also better for stretch materials as well, because you have greater quantity of thread here in reserve, basically, to allow for that stretch. So let me just drop this in. You can see how smooth this thing is. They're really cool machines. And this is top speed, 1250 stitches per minute. So it's like a fast domestic machine, but you know, it's nowhere near the 4,000 stitches per minute the thing's capable of. But you can go slow and feather the clutch too. Like that. And right now it's adjusted to 10 stitches per inch, which is pretty ideal for denim. So you can see it's super smooth, and the stitch is phenomenal. It's pretty forgiving too, in terms of the tensions. But you know, you can see the top, it looks like a standard lock stitch, and then the bottom, you have that roping effect, which everybody loves. So, you know, this one's good for like, you know, if you're piecing together, you know, if you're making denim, obviously this is like the machine to have, making denim jeans and other denim goods. But, you know, this is good for also like if you're doing covers or anything that requires long runs of stitching. This has no bobbin, so there's no issue of changing a bobbin. And then also the fact that it's able to run so fast, you really can get through a lot of work. Like if you're doing huge canopy tents or something, this is a phenomenal machine for that. So let's say you're doing a rolled hem. Let me see if I can position this. It's kind of tough with the camera in the way, but normally you would use I would use a hammer attachment to do that, and then that'll give you a consistent, really fast result. But you can see, even just with the magnetic guide and doing it by hand, it comes out fine. And then you can see the chain stitch there. Now they do make folders. So let's say you were doing, you know, let's say you're putting together some jeans and you wanted to use this machine for the bottom hem. They do make there's upturn hemmers, which are basically the most common, and then there are downturn hemmers. That's what you would want to use. Now you can do it by hand, like this, where you basically, you could pin it if you really wanted to be careful, or just roll it from the underside. Make sure you have it in place. And you want to use a magnetic guide here because it will fix the distance of your fold. So even if it's a little off on the inside, like you can see how this wasn't even close because I just didn't pay much attention, but from the outside it looks great because you have that fixed distance there. Maybe I should redo it actually. Let me get some scissors. So you could press this beforehand, which would help a lot. You could pin it or get a downturn hammer, which would make it much, much easier than trying to do this with just by hand without it. So I'm folding it. I'm trying to look where it lines up with the feed dogs. You can see that time was much better. So that would be like on the inside of your jean, and then on the outside you have that that stitch. Now if you want to get this roping effect that you'll see, that's really common on jeans, here I have some on actually, so you can see this like roping effect. This is actually caused by the downturn hemmer and the differential feeding in it. So it's kind of creating that rope effect because of the way that it's being pulled through the downturn hemmer, and it's like tugging on the material in a way that creates that effect. So if you get the downturn hemmer, you're more likely to get that roping effect. But you can see here that, you know, for hemming and stuff, it's pretty awesome. So I don't know if you run across one, and this is, you know, and you're making denim items or bags or canvas, tents, whatever. These are an awesome machine to have for those applications. Just super smooth, super fast, quiet, and a lot of fun to use, and never have to worry about changing a bobbin. So that's a two-thread Chainstitch Industrial Singer 147. So enjoy. Thanks, guys.